Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Weekender.
Hello and a warm welcome to CNBC TV18 Weekender. On the show today, we've travelled down the west coast to Kochi to meet two brothers who successfully carved a niche for themselves as business tycoons who helped take a family, managing directors of Wonderla and V-Guard Industries respectively. While Arun is a fan of the arts who swears by his gadgets and his books, Mithun, on the other hand, is an avid squash and badminton player who incidentally helped steer the turnover of V-Guard Industries to 10 times of what it was when he first took over in 2004. So without further ado, let's go meet the brothers Chittilappilly. Mithun and Arun Chittilappilly, I have to say at the outset, it's not every day that we see the two of you together here on CNBC TV18. Unlike most other South Indian businessmen, you're not exactly reticent. However, it's quite rare that we have you both for an interview at the same time. Do these family interviews happen? Do these family get-togethers firstly happen quite often? We'll start with Mithun, of course.
Yeah, I mean, there are, often we have family weddings happening, or Arun comes to Cochin at least once a month, some business related stuff, and then he stays over a couple of extra days. So yeah, it does happen.
All right, and you look forward to getting back home because this is simply where you began. And
yeah, so for me it's like a trip down memory lane every time I come down here, which is very often. Meet Mithun and his family, my parents. I mean, we're all here. So we are the only family who's living in Bangalore.
Of course.
But it's fun. Yeah, we meet very often.
True. I have to ask you both, Kerala isn't exactly the ideal place to run a business, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, considering both of you know the place better than I do. True, it is home for the two of you. It was where the family business began before things went public. But do tell me, you for instance moved the business to Bangalore, the Wonderla of it, Wonderla to Bangalore. Is it because Bangalore served as a better business environment? What was the rationale behind making that move, Arun?
So this was actually not really planned that way. We just built our biggest park in Bangalore, and so consequently it needed a lot of attention in the first few years, and because of that we decided to move to Bangalore. And then the Cochin park was an independent entity, and then it was merged to the Bangalore entity sometime in 2010, and at that point we decided to move the headquarters to Bangalore because we were already settled there.
Okay.
So it was just a random decision, not that we have planned it that way, but then my wife and I, we like to live in Bangalore and just thought it was a nice place to stay.
All right. And considering you've chosen to stay on, of course, in Kerala and Cochin, Kerala, of course, is home. What is it like running a business here? I know you started here, but Kerala isn't exactly the best known business capital in India at the moment.
So I think, Kerala has some challenges, or baggage, if you want to use that word. I think in the 70s and 80s there were a lot of militant trade unionism and all that. A lot has changed, but because of that, I think industry did not grow, as it should have grown here. But things have changed a lot. It's a lot less difficult to run businesses here. But there are some challenges, logistics-wise, talent-wise. So because we are in a town which is not a business center, so that way there are some challenges. But otherwise, we have not faced much problems in the last, I would say, 10-15 years here.
All right. What the two of you have done is successfully take a family-run business and take it public, and this happened a decade ago. Not very many people have managed to do that with such success as you have exemplified. So do tell me, what is the mantra to taking what is essentially a private business, a private family-held business, and taking it public? Let me start with you, Arun.
I think in Wonderla's case, it was definitely an industry which is growing in India. It is very nascent. Not many players, organized players in India, and it needs a lot of capital as well. So we thought about raising funds, either through private or public debt. And by that time, we already had a good run in the the market, and we felt that this is definitely a viable option to do it. And I think we had a pretty good reputation by then, as a promoter group, and so that decision was fairly easy. But then my dad also played a big role. He I think always believed in the whole public market system, and more than private equity, I must say. For him, that was always for him, the last bastion of fundraising, and
Absolutely.
so that's how it is.
But what are the challenges really to running, taking a family business? Some would say is a very sentimental decision that you take when starting, and you see it through several phases, and here you are as a listed entity. Is it challenging in some way to run, a public business from what was essentially a family business at the start?
So there are definite advantages and there are definite, I wouldn't say disadvantages, but some challenges. So I think it is difficult because you lose some amount of control and you lose some amount of flexibility. But there are a lot of advantages. You get you have a great board to advise you, and a good board, independent board is always good because it keeps you on your toes, which is not the case when you run, as a private company. You have the luxury of non-performance,
Okay.
For a few quarters. But here, those are the advantages. The disadvantages that, yes, so we are listed, we are constantly compared. It's very difficult to keep things secret. Your competitors tend to know more about you than when you're private. So these are some of the.
And how do you deal with that?
There's nothing you can do. The only good thing is, luckily, most of our peers are listed. Some of them are still privately held. So that way, we have the same challenges as them. So that's why it's okay.
So what do you guys do for fun when you get together in Kerala? What are the ways you unwind and relax over the weekend, Arun?
In Kerala, I definitely miss all the the good Mallu food in Bangalore. So whenever we are back in Kerala,
what's your favorite dish?
So we have this curry mean, which is the fish and the baked in banana leaf, and my mom cooks it well. So she always tries to make it when I come. And then we have beef. So we're Syrian Christians, so we have beef and our own mutton, pork, all our dishes.
You don't miss too much of that now, do you?
No, we don't. I mean, I don't. So I obviously get to eat a lot more Mallu food than Arun does. So I mean, for us here, I mean, it's a quiet town. It's not a very large city. So I still I'm in touch with all my school friends and still hang out. So
on that note, we'll have to slip into a very short break, but on the other side, we'll talk to Arun and Mithun on how they plan to take both the brands, Wonderla and V-Guard, to the next level. Keep watching CNBC TV18 Weekender.
CNBC TV18.
Welcome back. You're watching CNBC TV18 Weekender, and we're in conversation with Mithun and Arun Chittilappilly on how the gentleman transformed a family-run business into what is today a listed entity. And in this segment, we're talking to both the brothers on just how their brand has been shaping up in the last few years and where they plan to take the brand from henceforth. Something very interesting that has struck me about both of you is that how there is a very similar strategy in terms of what you want to do with regard to your respective brands. For instance, Mithun, when you took over V-Guard in 2012, the focus immediately, and this was very clear, was simply on how you could make this brand into a national brand. There was advertising strategies that saw a change. You started advertising on platforms where you found more publicity on the national stage. What was your thinking back then?
So I think when I joined the business in 2006, we were largely confined to southern states. Almost 98% of our revenues were coming from south, 4 states. The other parts of the country contributed very small revenue. So the work we've been doing since then has been taking the brand national. So first it started with distribution. So till about 2010 or 11, the focus was on building the distribution pipeline in those markets. And I think somewhere in 2011 onwards, we started advertising on platforms. We have taken national platforms like IPL, etc., and other national platforms as well. So that's been the journey, and I think it's still work in progress. I think we'll take another 5 years to complete our rollout pan-India.
Of course, that is something very important to you. It's part of the journey itself. But I have to ask you, you very rightly mentioned how 98% of your revenues were accounted for by the South, Mithun. But what I want to understand is today that number is 67%. But it still is a very sizable number, of business that the South accounts for. Are you happy with this? Where do you want it to be in terms of the ratios that each of these geographies account for your business?
In 2007 or 8, we had probably 10 crore revenue coming from the non-south markets. That's what we like to call it internally. Today, last year we did about 700 odd crores. This year we will be very close to 900 to 950 odd crores. So I think today the non-south operation of V-Guard is 3 to 4 times larger than a company that was when V-Guard was in 2006. So I think that way it's been pretty successful.
But before that, Arun, I have to ask you, a similar strategy really, because only earlier this year, even you tossed around your strategy in terms of branding, you changed around your brand a bit, and this even as you are looking to get out of the south in terms of your amusement parks. For instance, you have one park in Kochi, one park in Hyderabad, one park in Bangalore, your fourth is coming up in Chennai, another very strong South Indian city. Let's set the record straight. Where is your fifth park coming, and is that going to be your big foray into a non-south market?
Amusement parks by its very nature work really well in a tropical climate. So consequently Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad and even Chennai are very prime locations for us to do this. For example, if we had to go to a place like Delhi, we'll have to change our strategy significantly because of the climate change and stuff like that. So we would like to go a gradual walk towards the north, and next foray after Chennai would most likely be in the western region.
Okay.
Either Maharashtra or Goa.
Okay.
So,
there's been some talk about Gujarat also figuring.
Gujarat is also a very good option. They're very pro business.
But which of these markets are you more inclined to, Arun?
I would have to say Maharashtra or Gujarat. Goa is a bit of a tricky area, but also showing a lot of promise in the last 4 or 5 years.
All right. Arun, I'm very intrigued by one aspect. Despite Bangalore not exactly doing well in terms of footfalls for your Bangalore park, with regard to a number of issues that cropped up within the state and the city, your footfalls did increase by a very healthy 30%, in the last year. Good for business, but yet you've gone for the jugular by ensuring that your marketing budget still remains strong at a very cool 26 crore rupees. What's the strategy at play here? Why are you going this aggressive, and what new segment are you hoping to tap in by this aggression?
So last year, a lot of our growth came from our new park, which is Hyderabad. So that contributed a lot of our growth, and the older markets, which is Bangalore and Cochin, didn't really perform that well. We were hit by the service tax a little bit, and and this year the GST is also not pro the sector as such. But we are hoping that next year onwards we can claw back our footfalls. So there's been a change in pricing, quite a significant change in pricing, but we are still not seeing we are still able to grow the business. So that gives us a lot of confidence that with the right amount of marketing and the right targets, which are kids for us mostly, we should be able to still grow the business. We have not seen that we've
who are based there. So I think we want to address some of these issues, and we have addressed, but I think it's still work in progress.
A moving playfield, that's probably the best way to describe what has been happening at both these brands in the last few years. On that note, we'll have to slip into a very short break again. But when we come back, we'll talk about how government policy has impacted business both at V-Guard and Wonderla. Keep watching CNBC TV18 Weekender.
CNBC TV18 Weekender.
Welcome back. You're watching CNBC TV18 Weekender with this exclusive conversation with the Chittilappilly brothers. We've spoken about brand an awful lot, but now I have to ask you, Mithun and Arun, two big government decisions have really, taken pride of place, if I might be allowed to say, in terms of how much it's slated to impact your businesses, positively in one case, negatively in one case. Mithun, I'll start with the positives. The Prime Minister's Saubhagya scheme, a pet project of the BJP government, also one that is said could, pave the way for business to really grow as far as V-Guard is concerned. Electricity for all by 2018. How prepared are you, A, and B, which segments exactly are poised to do well in terms of, your attempt to piggyback on the scheme?
So primarily, if you look at it, we have one category which is wires and cables, which is also our largest product vertical today. That is one product where we see an immediate positive, because it will just grow the market for wires and cables in the country. Today, it's about 16,000 crores. It can grow very rapidly because this particular category has some headwinds in terms of...
So what kind of growth are we looking at?
So it's been growing at about 7 to 8% annually. We can definitely see an increase. I'm not sure how much of it will start to see it reflecting immediately. Like I said, it's going to have a trickle down effect.
All right. There's also been some talk about how, because of the Saubhagya scheme itself, your Sikkim plant, one of your latest plants that you have recently inaugurated, could see increased production, better optimization of current capacity, which could also mean a rise in your bottom line and in your operating margins as well. By what percentage do you expect both these numbers to go up if the optimization does come about and you start making more out of the plant?
So I think many categories what we are playing in has not grown very well in the last 3 years. I think post 2012 the country has really not grown much. We are starting to see that in the GDP numbers and all that. So a lot of our plants are running at something like 60-70% utilization. The Sikkim plants are running at something like 50% or 45% utilization level. So definitely, I think when these plants do go to higher capacity utilization, we will see expansion in margins, and with Sikkim we will also see increase in the PAT levels, because the income from those plants are completely exempt from income tax. We do expect the Sikkim plants to hit 80-90% capacity utilization in the next 24 months.
All right, and that's quite positive, no doubt, for the brand, for the business that you do. But Arun, very different situation for you, and it's not just you. But why this situation is really interesting is because very recently you spoke about how you're looking to foray into the resort and the hospitality business. You want to build a resort property everywhere you have an amusement park at the moment. But it's not exactly happy days for the hotel industry, for the hospitality industry, after the levying of a 28% GST on hotel rooms above a certain tariff. Is that worrisome for business?
Yeah, so actually that is 28% GST is a big worry for us in terms of not only for the hospitality foray that we are planning, even for the amusement park sector we've been slapped with a 28% GST, which is in line with what gambling and the sin tax like you were talking about. So which we feel is unfair, and we are trying to make some representation to the government from the association, because we feel that amusement parks are highly capital intensive, and they're like a social infrastructure around a large city. So taxing them at that high rate sounds a little ridiculous to us. So we are trying to change that a little bit. But having said that, we've already implemented the GST. I mean, we are already in the GST regime right now. So because of that, we are seeing slight, we had to raise prices quite a bit. So we are seeing some softening of demand for that, but we are still not pessimistic about it. I think it's still growing.
And how will this, is this expected to impact your expansion plans in any manner whatsoever?
The hospitality part, no. We will only build hotels where we have almost 1 million visitors in our parks, and it's showing that kind of a good trend, and it's only an add-on business for us. So hospitality is not going to be
So you already have that captive audience?
Yeah, so we will have an audience, and then to cater to that, we will build the resort, and that's the model. But for the amusement park industry as such, I would definitely want a reconsideration of the 28% as a business owner and somebody who's trying to expand into other markets. The high GST rate is a bit of a dampener.
And how are footfalls going to be affected, if they're affected at all?
We are forecasting for this year my footfalls could decline in low single digits, but after that hopefully it will stabilize and we should be able to see growth from next year. It could take a little longer, but I think there is hope. I think the government is listening to industry, and we feel that these are all upcoming industries in a developing country like India, where people are just opening up to consumption on entertainment and hospitality. Okay. So to kind of clip that with a high tax sounds counterintuitive. I hope that they will correct it, and that should happen.
Before I end, I have to come to you next, Mithun. What can we expect? What's on the anvil? You already have expanded in a mighty way in terms of your product lineup. Do tell us what's in the pipeline. How many more product launches can we expect? Innovations have also been part of the game for you at V-Guard. What exactly can we look forward to on the product launch front?
We are looking to deepen our engagement in the kitchen appliances business. So we are now having 3 categories. It's doing very well. We are hoping to reach 100 crores of revenues next year, post which we will get into some more categories within the kitchen space. Okay. Switchgear is another I would say adjacent category that we want to expand in. We made an acquisition there a few months back, so we were hoping to grow there. So these are going to be, so the idea is that we don't want any one category to contribute more than 15% of our revenues. So today we have 2 categories, that is voltage stabilizers and cables, that are both above 15% of revenues to total business. So I think the idea is to ensure that no one category contributes more than 15%.
And spread it out evenly in terms of
Yeah.
contributors, right? Okay. And Arun, as far as you are concerned, a foray into a hospitality business during very difficult times, no doubt. But what can we expect? How many rooms, how many properties are going to hit the market?
Yeah, so wherever we have a hotel, we will be doing about 100. Right now, we have 100 rooms in Bangalore.
Yes.
We will want to, augment that by another 100 rooms. So we're still we are talking to the state government about that. But again, we are just waiting on this whole GST affair to kind of show some result, and then we will take that call. But we have already decided to add more rooms in Bangalore, and Hyderabad. The moment it touches 1 million visitors, which I think in 2 years from now, we will add a hotel there as well.
With similar number of rooms, 100?
Yeah, we're 100 to start off with, and then another 100 on top.
So for now, 200 rooms is what you're looking at
Yeah.
for the moment. All right. On that note, Mithun and Arun, it was great having you on CNBC TV18 Weekend. Thank you so much, and all the very best for the years ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
CNBC TV18 Weekend.